Hi, hello, and welcome back to PJs and Pages. Today I am going to be talking about 25 books that I want to read in 2025. Now, I'm not really making a real TBR for myself. I get to these books great. If I don't, I don't. But these are kind of the ones that I have on my radar because either they're things that I want to finish, or they're things that I want to catch up on, or they're just books that I recently bought, and so they are kind of not at the top of my priority, but they're like kind of at the forefront of my mind because I saw them most recently. So we're gonna get started, and I'm gonna start first with things that I want to finish. And I'm actually currently in the middle of this. So the first three books are actually finishing the Throne of Glass series. So I am currently in the middle of the tandem read for Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. Enjoying it more than I thought I was going to. And that's all I'll say about it. So I also want to eventually finish with Kingdom of Ash. It is a chunker of a book. So that series will be completed and I can finally move on to Crescent City and catching up with that one. Another series that I started in 2024 was The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzin, and her second book, A Monsoon Rising, came out. It is absolutely stunning, and basically The Hurricane Wars it's basically it is a Star Wars fanfic made into a book. But it's really good. So I will continue to read it because I really, really enjoyed The Hurricane Wars and I can't wait to read the second one. Next up is Emily Henry. I love Emily Henry's writing. I've read Beach Read, Friends We Meet on Vacation, and last year I read Book Lovers. Now, I like to go in order. So next up on my list to read would be Happy Place. However, my book club has decided they want to read Funny Story. So I will be reading both Happy Place and Funny Story and catching up on all of Emily Henry's backlist so that I can be ready for her new book. But yeah, Happy Place is a second chance romance between a couple who go vacationing with their friends every year, and this year they have separated, but they haven't told their friends, so they have to fake date and pretend that they are still together, even though they are not, and work through their issues. And then Funny Story is a romance between two people whose exes are dating. So they decide to pretend to date each other to get back at them, is what I assume is happening. So fake dating also, but also just revenge. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to this. I've heard it compared to the romance between Jess and what's his face? Jess and the New Girl romance. And I love that one. So I am going to be reading both of those this year. Now, I finished Onyx Storm already, so I am all caught up on Fourth Wing or Red Tower books, and I am ready to find their newest thing. And I heard really good things about Five Broken Blades. I've heard it compared to kind of like Six of Crows, but more adult. And yeah, so I'm excited to get to it. It is another stunning Red Tower Books edition, and I have had really good luck with their books. I liked the Fourth Wing series. I have enjoyed the Assistant to the Villain series, and I'm ready to try some of their other stuff and see if all of it is as good as Fourth Wing was. So hopefully I find a new favorite romantasy series in this. Next up is some Aardvark books. So I had a subscription to Aardvark Book Club last year, and I did not read any of the books that I got from it. So I figured on my radar for this year, I want to just pick 3 books and actually read them from Aardvark. So the first one that I want to get to is Dreadful by Caitlin Rozakis. But basically, this is kind of like a comedic fantasy, kind of in the same vein as Assistant to the Villain, where it knows that it's being like cheeky and kind of tropey. But essentially, he wakes up and he has no idea who he is. And it turns out that he is the evil villain of the story. So don't want to really know much more than that. It sounded funny, and I was like, oh, and it's comedic fantasy, and I was like, yes, that sounds perfect for me. I like lighter fantasies with darker, morally gray characters, if that makes sense. So that is one of my aardvark books that I want to read. I also have this one, which is We Lived on the Horizon by Erica Swyler, and this is a speculative fiction book about a bioprosthetic surgeon and her personal AI as they are drawn into a revolution. So I do like speculative fiction. It's not too long of a book, and that cover is stunning. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And finally, on my Aardvark Book Club list of books to read is After the Ocean by Lauren E. Rico. And it takes place in Puerto Rico, which is, if you are not aware, where my grandmother is from. And it is, I'll read like the little top blurb. How do you find your way back when you've left yourself behind, filled with emotion and intrigue in this compelling novel? A painful, unsolved mystery from one woman's past resurfaces years later and sends her on a mission that will impact her family in ways they never could have expected. So apparently, her husband is basically lost when they're on their honeymoon in Puerto Rico due to a hurricane, and there's a possibility he is not actually dead. So this was 30 years ago, and now the impacts of that. So really looking forward to this one. I'm pretty sure she's a Puerto Rican author, if I'm not mistaken. Lives in New York. Can't remember exactly, but she is a Latinx author, and I really want to read more works by Latinx authors, seeing as how I am a Latinx reader. So After the Ocean by Lauren E. Rico. Now, I am just going to go through literally the most random stack of books you have ever experienced that I purchased recently, and I will probably be getting to them this year. So the first one is I'm Afraid You've Got Dragons by Peter S. Spiegel. This is once again a kind of comedic fantasy about a man who doesn't want to be is he a dragon exterminator, but ends up inheriting the job anyway. So looking forward to reading that one. I've got Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. This one is like a fairy tale type story. There's a princess trapped in a tower. This isn't her story. It's the story about somebody else in the fairy tale, which I love the idea. It's also very short, so I will definitely be getting to it. I think it's under 150 pages. 120. Nope, I lied. 111 pages. Perfect. So we're going to be reading a lot more short books this year, because sometimes you just need a little tiny short thing to feel good about yourself for finishing. So Thornhedge. I've got North Woods by Daniel Mason. I've been on a literary fiction kick, and I picked this one up. It's supposed to be about two young lovers abscond from a Puritan. It's like a amalgamation of several different people's stories coming together, which I really, really like. So two young lovers from a Puritan colony stumble into a humble cabin in the woods and become the home of an extraordinary succession of human and non-human characters alike. An English soldier destined for glory abandons the battlefields of the New World to devote himself to growing apples. A pair of spinster twins navigate war and famine, envy and desire. A crime reporter, a lovelorn painter, a sinister conman, a stalking panther, a lusty beetle, and they all kind of come together in these North Woods. It shows the myriad magical ways in which we're connected to our environment, to history, and to one another. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. The cover didn't really do much for me, but it's growing on me, and the actual synopsis is what drew me into it, which is something I have not looked at for a while in books, and I really should start doing. So one that I picked up for the synopsis. This one is called Starter Villain by John Scalzi. If I'm not mistaken, this was an aardvark book as well that I just did not end up getting through aardvark. But it's the little short blurb is, inheriting your uncle's supervillain business is more complicated than you might think, particularly when you discover who's running the place. So a lighthearted story with a likable fish out of water protagonist and a lot of smart cats. There's also a dolphin labor dispute, some truly awful tech bros, and a volcano island lair. So it sounds, once again, like it's going to be kind of a comedic, satirical... I don't know if it's really going to be fantasy. It might be fantasy. This is Tor, so it could be fantasy. I don't know, but I loved the cover. I know I shouldn't buy books based on the cover, but I love the cover and the title. It just drew me in, and then it sounded funny, so I was like, yes, this is a book I have to read. Next up is Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. I have seen this one recommended by many booktubers who read literary fiction, and so I figured I would pick it up and give it a shot. The cover is stunning, and it is an artsy-fartsy book. I love books about artists and about art, and this one is about exiled from the art world and on sabbatical from her dead-end bar job, Irina obsessively takes explicit photographs of the average-looking men she persuades to model for her, scouted from the streets of Newcastle. And she's invited to display her work, so I'm sure it's going to have commentary on sexuality and all sorts of stuff, so I'm really excited about this one. I can't wait to read it. Next up is Monstrilio by Gerardo Samano Cordova. I saw this one recommended by, I think it was Athena. She's another booktuber who reads primarily like gothic literature and horror and literary fiction, and that is really where my tastes have been leaning lately, so I was curious about some of her recommendations, and she really recommends this one. I kind of get the feeling it's like a Frankenstein retelling, kind of, sort of. Not a Frankenstein retelling, but very similar to that story. It's once a novel about family and love, a creepy tale that questions what it means to be human, and a celebration of queer stories. It is as shocking as it is profound and as humorous as it is thoughtful. So Magos carves out a small piece of his lung to save herself after her son dies, and acting on fierce maternal instinct and the dubious logic of an old folktale, she nurtures the lung until it gains sentience, growing into the carnivorous little Monstrilio she keeps hidden within the walls of her decaying childhood home in Mexico City. But despite her efforts to turn the monster she created into a man, Monstrilio's innate impulses threaten to destroy his fragile second chance at life. So obviously conversations about grief and moving on, and once again another Latinx author. I'm really excited to pick up more books by Latinx authors this year. Next up is Long Live Evil. This is kind of in the same vein as Dreadful. Once again, there's a girl from the real world, and she seizes a second chance at living, a magical bargain that lets her enter the world of her favorite fantasy series. Who wouldn't want to do that, right? Except that she comes into this thing, and it turns out that she is the villain character in her fantasy series. So yeah, I think it sounds great. It's actually going to be a series, and a big reason why I looked at it is that it is blurbed on the front by the Leigh Bardugo herself. So I'm really excited about that. I love me some Leigh Bardugo, and if she loved it, I want to give it a shot. Keep going. We're nearing the end of the stack. See, we're getting there. All right, another short one by T. Kingfisher. Me and T. Kingfisher are thinking on the same wavelength. We need some shorter books in our world. So this is What Moves the Dead, and it is a retelling of The House of Usher by what's his name? House of Usher. It's a famous book. I can't remember the name of the author. Edgar Allan Poe. Duh. So retelling of The House of Usher, really short, gothic, horror, grotesquerie. Love it. This cover is just everything. And yeah, apparently it's 2 books. So it's this one and another little short one. So I have the first one. I figured I would try this one first, and if I liked it, then I would read the second one. So I did not buy the second one. I did not buy it. That's progress, people. Progress. Next up, we have a novel love story by Ashley Poston, I think. And this one is Ashley Poston. I bought it because I actually don't even know what it's about, except I think, yes, I do. She gets lost in like this small town, and it sounds just like it's from one of her books, and that's because it is. So Ashley Poston tends to write romances that have a little bit of a magical realism quality to them. I read The 7-Year Slip last year, and I really, really loved it. I've also got her first book, The Dead Romantics, which I have not gotten to yet, but this one sounds much more appealing to me than that one, so I might read this one first. And yeah, I really liked her writing in The 7-Year Slip. I have a feeling I'm going to like this one too, based off of reviews that I have seen for it. Next up is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I finally read Normal People. I broke down and read it because it is like literally one of the top recommended literary fiction books to read of this era by everybody. And I didn't want to read it because it does not have quotation marks. But it turns out I loved it. I really liked the writing. I liked the character building. It was so beautifully done. So I picked up Conversations with Friends to see if I continue liking her writing. Once again, no quotation marks, but it's starting to grow on me. I've read like 3 books in the recent past that had no quotation marks, and I've liked them all. So maybe I am growing as a reader. But Conversations with Friends, don't even know what it's about. Honestly, I don't want to know. I just want to go into it blind and learn about these characters. So that's that one. Next up is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. Once again, another Latinx author. This is a collection of short stories. I have read one of them, and it was very impactful. I still remember it to this day. I never read the rest of it. And then I gave away my copy, or I lent it to someone. I don't know, but I never had it, so I rebought it because I really, really, really want to read this. I want to read the rest of the stories in this collection. If I'm not mistaken, Carmen Maria Machado is a pretty popular Latinx horror author, so this kind of gives me a better idea about her writing before I pick up one of her other books. Next up is another one that Athena mentioned in one of her videos, and that is I Who Have Never Known Men. This is a dystopian book about this group of women who are imprisoned in this like hole in the ground basically, and they have been there for 39 women. They don't even know how long they've been in there. But there's one girl who literally has never seen the light of day. And soon she will, okay, so the 40th prisoner sits alone and outcast in the corner. Soon she will show herself to be the key to others' escape and survival in the strange world that awaits them above ground. It's a novel of female friendship and intimacy and the lengths people will go to maintain their humanity in the face of devastation. So, oh, this is actually written in 1997. So this is an older book that was reprinted. So good to know too. If this sounds fantastic, I love dystopian. I love strong female characters. I think this is going to be right up my alley. Next up is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I have never read anything by Barbara Kingsolver. It won the Pulitzer Prize though, and also several people have read it and said it was amazing. I know it's supposed to be a retelling of David Copperfield, but set in West Virginia and with a little boy named Damon who goes by Demon. So I really don't know. I haven't even read the back of it. That's all I know about it. And you know what? That's kind of all I want to know. It is a longer book, and I know it's going to be sad, but I do think I want to get into some sad books this year, and this one I think is going to be it. Next up is Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad, another one that won the Pulitzer Prize. I was in Barnes & Noble's just kind of looking at like the recommended books by the booksellers. They always have like this section where the employees recommend books, and this one was on there. So this is about Cora, a young slave on a cotton plantation in Georgia, who is an outcast among even her fellow Africans. She's on the cusp of womanhood, and when Caesar, a slave who has recently arrived from Virginia, urges her to join him on the Underground Railroad, she seizes the opportunity and escapes with him. In Colson Whitehead's ingenious conception, the Underground Railroad is no mere metaphor. Engineers and conductors operate a secret network of actual tracks and tunnels beneath Southern soil. So this sounds fascinating. I cannot wait to read this. I live in the South, the state of the world right now. I feel like more people should be reading books like this. So I am looking forward to reading this, very much so. Potent, devastating, essential. Yeah. Yeah, definitely want to read that. And finally, I saw this on Books with Leo, I think. I can't remember. Leonie recommended this on her booktube channel. I will link it down below. And it just sounded so creepy and so fun. And there are pictures, which makes it even more creepy and fun. And it's an interesting size. So I had to pick it up. And it is Slewfoot, A Tale of Bewitchery by Brom. And it is about an ancient spirit awakening in a dark wood. The wild folk call him father, slayer, protector. The colonists call him Slewfoot, demon, devil. To Abatha, a recently widowed outcast, alone and vulnerable in her pious village, he is the only one she can turn to for help. Together they ignite a battle between pagan and Puritan, one that threatens to destroy the entire village, leaving nothing but ashes and bloodshed in its wake. So this sounds creepy. It sounds fun. I think I'm going to save it for Halloween. It's going to be so much fun. I'm really looking forward to this one. And that is, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. That is the 25 books that I plan on reading in 2025. Thank you so much for getting this far. If you have, let me know what books you have read from these that you think I need to prioritize after I finish Throne of Glass. If you got this far, let's see, and you don't have a recommendation, just go ahead and leave a sword for 5 broken blades at the bottom, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!